how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of the decision can sign the sheet at the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of the proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for the hearing for each application is, after each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all the correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. Because of the number of applications, I'm asking you that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present the information on their application, other than the questions from the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak should limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and any rebuttal by the applicant will also be limited to 3 minutes. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my left is Bob Wadle, Fred Gallerup, Larry Crawford, and I'm Joe Piaski, and to my right is Terry Dopoxted, zoning administrator. Okay. We got it in here somewhere too. Our first application tonight is for conditional use for Clayton Peterson of Pine River, Wisconsin, has made an application for conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, parent B, parent 22, and 58-454, parent 35, with the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish a woodcraft operation with retail sales as a home-based business, accessory to an existing single-family dwelling, utilizing a 20 by 30 portion of existing 30 by 60 barn for retail sales and a 24 by 24 portion of an existing 24 by 40 storage building for production in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location approximately 37.5 acre parcel of land being part of the northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4, less certified survey map number 4547, section 21, town of Saxville, and 6088 County Road AE. Is the applicant here? You want to come up to the front and tell us about your project?
I guess you pretty well, thank you, by the way. I guess you pretty well covered the scope of what I plan to do. It is to establish a small business in an existing barn for the display and retail of woodcrafts. And I don't think I will belabor you to say anything more, except if you have any questions.
Okay, we do have some questions for the committee for you.
You've already described what your business is going to be about. Will there be any employees outside of the immediate family?
No.
What sort of traffic do you anticipate, and what sort of parking do you think we would need to accommodate the business?
I feel as though I've got adequate parking for at least 25 vehicles there without any problem, or with no parking on the road.
All right. Is an advertising sign planned?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you contacted the state building inspector and know what codes, if any, you will need to meet?
Yes, I've talked to him. Mm-hmm.
How far above the existing grade will the first floor elevation be, and how much filling and grading will be done? Okay. Okay. I'm just,
No filling and grading,
okay.
probably 6 or 8 inches above the grade.
What kind of sanitary facilities are you planning? Are you going to use your personal ones in the home?
I have no additional planned at this time.
Are there any other additions or buildings being planned other than what you've indicated on the original plan?
No.
Will all activities be inside the building and no business or products stored outside?
Yes, with the exception of possibly the display of some of the products just outside the door. Hmm.
Are you planning on a new driveway?
No, I'm not.
Use the existing one?
Yes. Hmm.
Do you need a new fire number for this new business?
I don't think so. I haven't checked, but I don't think so. It's
Okay.
same location, so.
Has there been a recent survey of the property?
Probably within the past 10 years, something like that.
If the approval is granted, when would you start operating your business?
It would be a seasonal business, and I would plan it to be late May, hopefully, this year, until October, probably.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Any questions, anybody else? What kind of products are you going to be selling? Are you going to make them all, or are you buying something?
No,
resale?
I would be making them and then also possibly consigning some from others. It would be wood crafts,
Mhm.
everything from picnic tables to cheese cutting boards.
Will you be selling some lumber also?
Yes, I have lumber for sale there too. Hmm.
Okay, that's all the questions we have, I think. You can have a seat again. Any correspondence?
We have one letter from the town of Saxville, received on April 18th. It says, "Dear members of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee, at the regular monthly meeting on April 16th, 2012, the Town Board of Saxville considered the conditional use permit as proposed by Clayton Peterson of Pine River, Wisconsin. Mr. Peterson wishes to establish a woodcraft operation with retail sales as a home-based business, accessory to an existing single-family dwelling, utilizing a 20 by 30 portion of an existing 30 by 60 barn for retail sales and a 24 by 24 portion of an existing 24 by 40 storage building for production in the AG General Agricultural Zone. This project will be located on an approximate 37.5 acre parcel of land being part of the northeast one quarter, the northwest one quarter, less certified survey map number 4547, section 21 in the town of Saxville, N6088, County Road EE. It was motioned by Supervisor Michael Lind and seconded by Supervisor Ken Hansen to approve and support the conditional use permit as applied for by Clayton Peterson. On behalf of the Town Board of Saxville, it's signed Virginia Cartwright, Town Clerk. And that's all the correspondence we have.
Anyone in favor and opposed to speak?
Excuse me. No one registered to speak.
Okay. Staff comments.
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this application that they are considering tonight. And I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright. You could build a house in the general ag zone. You can build a barn and have farm animals. And then there are things that we call conditional use permits that may be permitted provided certain conditions are met. And that's obviously what we're looking at here. It's a use that may be permitted provided that there's certain parameters placed upon it by the Planning and Zoning Committee that keeps the use in harmony with the surrounding uses in area. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits. It is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the existing driveway had good visibility. Sanitary facilities should be provided for customers if they need them, and that the proposal does seem to be in keeping with the surrounding area. There wouldn't be too many changes to the exterior of the buildings. And that's it.
Anything rebuttal you'd like to say? Anything else? Okay. Well, we'll close our portion of the meeting and We'll be down the hallway here and to the right, do our business meeting over there. Show you guys how to get done quick. Yeah. Kirshner will be back.
They'll be laughing at us.
You better be back. Or we'll fire him. Give him the main man.
I'll call this meeting with Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. The same time limits will apply to testimony, which is 5 minutes for the applicant, outside of committee questions, and 3 minutes for other testimony, including any rebuttal by the applicant. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct their monthly meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I'll introduce the rest of the committee. To my left are Larry Tim, Kevin Fitzgerald, Vern Tallickson, George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. First variance to be considered tonight, William and Susan Pewson, Wautoma, Wisconsin, have made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code, to construct a 10-foot by 10-foot and a 4-foot by 9-foot addition and a pitched roof over the result 26 by 28-foot single-family dwelling, cumulative improvements exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming to town road and side lot setbacks in the AG, General Agricultural Zone within the shoreline area. Location, an approximate 0.39 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 3561 and part of vacated road noted in volume 500, page 612, being part of government lot 4 and part of the northwest 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, section 8, Town of Marion, N1829 Cree Avenue. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please?
Can I explain one thing before we get too far along here? On April 17th, there was a change in state law, and that forced a change in the Waushara County codes. So the variance itself will be, it's still required to proceed with the project, but the numbers of the sections have changed. So, you know, before the board can act on it, they'll have to change the numbers and reflect that the variance is now to sections 58-235, parents 1, parents E, 2, and 3. Just a technicality, but I want to make sure, and that's what we talked about on the phone.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, do you have anything further to add?
Really, there's nothing further to add except that I needed to change the roof, saying that it was a flat roof, and every time a branch goes through it, it costs $5,000 to replace that roof. And I think the simplest way is to go with trusses and to square the building off to make it more appealing.
Okay. Just a few general questions then for the record. Has there been a recent survey on this property?
Yes,
Okay, and when about?
approximately 5 years ago.
Okay. Are you sure the road right-of-way and the property location?
Yes,
You found all the stakes and everything?
yes.
Okay. Have you talked to the town and your neighbors about this project?
Yes, I have. I have one of the neighbors that live right across the street from him.
Okay, okay. How do you plan on dealing with stormwater runoff? You gonna have gutters or downspouts or?
I wasn't planning on any downspouts or gutters, but if you recommend them, then they'll be on there.
Okay. What type of foundation for the additions?
That'll be a footer of concrete.
Okay. And are you sure your plans will meet building codes and are able to support the new roof structure?
Yes,
Any plans on doing any filling or grading in there?
no.
And what's the finished height gonna be when you're done?
Finish height thing is going to, you want from the road?
Well,
Or-
from the bottom of the building.
It'll be approximately 23 inches off of the footing.
Okay, and what's the finished height to the peak of the roof?
Oh, yeah, from the ceiling, 8 foot,
Okay, and then the roof is gonna be a 412 pitch, or,
a 412 pitch.
any other improvements planned at this time?
Just some windows.
And the home is connected to municipal sewer, is that correct?
Yes,
And you got enough room for parking and turnaround?
more than enough.
Okay. You stated the hardship was the flat roof, and that's why you're putting the pitched on, correct?
Well, right now I've got holes from the last storm and a tree in one, part of a tree in the other bedroom.
That's not good, is it?
No,
Okay. If an approval were granted, when would you start the construction?
as soon as the blueprints are finished.
Any other committee questions? Okay, have a chair then.
Thank you.
Any correspondence?
yes, we have an email from DNR addressed to myself. Terry, I'm writing to provide comments regarding the Pewson, Herwig, and Rankin property variance requests that are to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments Thursday, April 19th, 2012. Thank you for your time and assistance in discussing these requests and providing me with application materials. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and/or read before the Board of Adjustments. And regarding the Pewson request, it says, since the principal structure is not nonconforming due to shoreline zoning, the department has no comment. Goes on to say, please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Pewson, Herwig, and Rankin property variance requests. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And that's signed Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources.
Okay, and we have registered in favor but not speak, Nick Bekus. Okay. And anyone else?
Can you fill out a slip before you go then, too?
Do I have to fill out a slip?
Just fill it out after you're done speaking and hand it in.
Well, my name
Sure.
my name is Charlie Marks,
Okay.
and Nick and I live directly across the street, so if you took Bill and Sue's lot, Nick and I are the homes directly across the street. So I just want this committee to know that we're in favor. We support them. Just beside the point, but great neighbors, good people. We are just here to say, my family, that we support their project. We think it'll be good for the neighborhood. I can support this. We live across the street. They have a big parking area, a big lot. It's all sand, good drainage. And we've been over there and talked to them, and they've showed us their plans, and we're behind them 100%.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you would just fill out one of these green
Sure.
slips by the door and hand it in to Terry then. No one in objection, staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and all the other applications that they will be considering tonight. And they've also visited all the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on site. At this time, I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include an unnecessary hardship is being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting all of the required dimensional standards. And if the variance is granted, that no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is again the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that there was adequate room for parking and turning around, and that visibility was good at the driveway location. They also noted that this would be an improvement to the existing home, and it would bring it closer to meeting the minimum square footage requirements of the county's zoning code, which is 720 square feet of living area. And as far as my comments go, it's certainly a case of repairs needing to be made to the home. The other options would be to tear down the structure and build a new one, or relocate the structure and try to fix it up in that manner. In this case, I'm not sure the few feet that would be gained by rebuilding or moving the structure and then repairing it is worth the compliance that would be granted, or the tearing up of the yard that would result. But this is where the judgment of the board comes in. They need to weigh the proposal against the uniqueness of the lot and the gains that would be realized against any harm that may come to neighbors, the public, or the zoning code, if any. That's it.
Okay. Next variance to be considered, Douglas Herwig, DeForest, Wisconsin, made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2, and 58-823, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Washira County Zoning Code to construct a 32 by 46 two-story single-family dwelling on a walkout basement with a 5 by 7 covered entryway and a 24-foot by 8-foot covered porch and a 16 by 24 and a 8 by 8 open deck. Existing single-family dwelling to be raised, coming to within 9 feet of the easterly side lot line, 15 foot required on an existing non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width at the ordinary high water mark in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location Lot 4, Block 3 of Long Lake subdivision, being part of the northeast 1/4, the northwest 1/4, Section 18, Town of Saxville, Long Lake, W4718 Lake Street. Is the applicant present? Come forward, please. State your name for the record.
Chris Herwig.
Okay.
Other than what was already said, what we're trying to do is tear down an existing 3-season cottage that's in disrepair and replace it with a new 4-season cottage. The front wall line is going to remain as it is in the current building. The width is going to remain the same. We're asking a variance on basically a deck that's going to be off to the east side. The current building lies behind the structure of the building, the house to the east. Dave Williams has supplied you with a letter and outline what we're trying to do. If you have any questions based on that, I can answer them.
Okay,
I don't know, I don't have really anything else to add besides what's in that letter.
okay. Just some general questions then for the record. Has there been a recent survey out there?
October of '08.
Okay. And all of the stakes are visible yet? And
Yes.
you've, okay. And you talked to the neighbors and the Lake Association and the town board about this?
You'll need to come up. If you want to answer the question, you should come up now.
Name?
And
I had spoken with Town Chairman Tim as well as Lake Property Owners President. And I don't even know what his name is anymore. I don't remember. He's not any longer Len Brash. But I talked to two neighbors down. Len Brash was one of them. There was no opposition to them. I did not talk to the immediate neighbors. Mr. Herwig was going to do that, and Mr. Herwig, Chris is his representative because Doug ended up in the hospital and wasn't able to get a hold of the folks.
Okay. What type of foundation? This would be a walkout basement?
Just on one corner at the lowest part of the kettle, it's going to be poured concrete, 8 feet tall. The existing foundation will be raised as well.
And how far above the existing grade will the first floor elevation be?
Also need to be raised due to the basement now being only 5'6" tall. The crawl space that's under there, the elevation, the first floor will be about 30 inches taller than what the first floor is now, which will bring us up to about the height of the grade to the west, where there's the house to the west has a deck that comes within 7.5 feet. A retaining wall is there on the west side that we will now be bringing our grade even with what needed to be retained before. The retaining wall is on the Herwig property, as is the neighbor's well on the Herwig property, the neighbor to the west, and they have the easement to their property from the Herwig's driveway. And we're maintaining 15 feet on that side, if your plot plan will indicate that. The reason for that, rather than trying to split the difference, is the only spot on the site that I have to place the well, once everything is erected, is on that side of the house in conjunction with the neighboring septic system and the required space for the new Herwig septic system behind the house.
And what will the finished height of this home be?
Will be less than 35 feet at all sides. It will vary due to the shape of the house. It'll be 25 feet to the eaves on the east side, 26 feet to the eaves at the peak on the south end, and about 25 feet on the front. It'll be a 10-12 pitch on the narrow area, the 24-foot wide section of the house, and a 5-12 on the upper section.
How do you plan on dealing with stormwater runoff and potential erosion?
The potential erosion, none occurs on our property because of the kettle configuration. I have had Ton Whitman on site. Ton looked at it and agreed that where the current house sits now is the front of the depressional area on the lake side. We will be disturbing nothing going back other than digging out the new basement. So we're going to put a silt fence to the west. That's the only spot that runs away from us a little bit. Just a silt fence to the west, which will probably be the only thing required.
Any other improvements planned at this time? All other setbacks will be met?
Yep.
And what about a septic system?
It already has been perked and a design is there for better than mound at this time, a conventional, which will require a pump chamber, septic tank, force main, and a conventional field using infiltrators.
What about the additional runoff from the larger roof
Gutter that. We're going to gutter that back to the depressional area, which will be left as naturally
on
vegetated.
top of the septic bed?
It'll be going off to the driveway side.
Have you considered any other options, such as moving the home back a little bit?
Moving back pushes us farther into the depressional area, which will require either a bridge-like structure to the front, being able to access the lake, or an additional amount of fill. It will be difficult site to place fill in because of the tightness of the driveway area and the current trees that are there. Moving back, and I have a letter. Does that letter have to be read into the record? The letter that I sent? Or
Well,
no?
it was going to be, unless you tell me not
It will
to.
be redundant in what we're talking about now, if you'd rather hear it from me or probably said better when I'm not standing at the podium what I write in the paper, so
Okay.
it's entirely up to you, because all the
But-
things that were addressed.
But then they don't have the opportunity to question you, so.
Okay, well, they can if they want.
All other setbacks will be met except the one side lot to the east?
There'll be an open deck that comes within 9 feet.
Okay. And what is the hardship and unique property limitations that would support this variance?
The uniqueness is probably the kettle configuration, which is a natural kettle that was not anything that was dug by previous owners. The tightness of the lot at the front, the inability as we go back, we're gonna run out of room in the septic area to ever have designed in a replacement drain field if need be. Because, and I don't know if the pictures, if I had sent pictures with it as well. Some of you were on site, so you're aware of what I'd showed you that day. We'll be getting near into the depression where the front of the house is now. The current house begins at the front. It just starts to go back right from that point, and then it just goes from all directions. They accept a tremendous amount of stormwater from the neighboring properties now. Before that was a concern, or was addressed as such a large concern, they get a lot of stormwater that comes from everything around them, including the road and both east and west.
And are you familiar with what permits you will need for construction? And if an approval were granted, when would you start construction?
As soon as possible, but we need to get an asbestos assessment on the existing structure, just due to its age. I don't believe there's any in there, but my intention is to do that. It'll take some time to get that. Immediately after that, if there's no abatement necessary, then we need to raise the cottage before we can remove the additional trees that need to be made for the little larger structure. So as soon as possible, but it will probably take a month to get those things processed.
You said you spoke with the neighbors in the township. Are they going to be represented here tonight, or do they have an opinion?
Opposition. I spoke to someone that was within the 300 feet, but did not speak to the immediate neighbors. And again, I'm not making an excuse for Mr. Herwig, but that had been his intent, and he ended up in the hospital. Christopher's here as a son because Dad couldn't make the trip.
Any other committee questions?
Why is the deck a necessity to infringe on the variance 15
That's
feet?
an access to the front deck from that side of the lake where they'd hope to be able to have access for him, for Doug, who's handicapped, that he can come off of the bedroom area as well as
But a
living room
different
area.
design of the house could have avoided that deck, is that correct?
You could get the deck off and access from the front door, but which would take steps. It's going to be a 2-level deck. So from the front of the house, because that's brought up due to the grade, they'll have to have steps that will go down to that front deck. He would be on one level, be able to access the one level.
If you didn't have the deck, you wouldn't be here for variance.
The deck could come off, but the variance is what has caused us to be too close. The variance is due to that deck.
That's what I
Correct.
asked you. So that's the only reason you're here is because of the deck is within that
Well,
area.
because it's
If you
not
didn't have the deck, you wouldn't have this variance. You'd be able to build what you wanted to build.
We would be able, well, not what they wanted to build. We would be building without the deck on the side.
What is the hardship?
The hardship is a lot that we can't move back to be compliable. It was to our favor to have the averaging.
I think you need to remember that they need a variance to build even a structure that meets all the setbacks, because this lot is it's too narrow at the lake, and it's too narrow at the building site. It's not 65 feet in width at either place.
You spoke about talking with the township. Did you have a response from the township?
I talked with Mr. Tim on the phone, and he said if there's anything he could do to help, he'd be more than happy to do so, because he also recognized that they had to do something with the road there because of the raw water that comes down. And the survey shows that there is no large right-of-way on that road either. It is right to the garage that's currently there. It is right to the edge of the road where the surveyor stakes were. He said, if you've got any trees in the way, that would be our trees. Let me know. He was appreciative of the call and had no concerns.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
I have one. Do you want me to read your letter or not?
Yeah, I wish you would.
Okay, I will.
Okay, correspondence?
Again, we have one from the DNR, Michael Wenholtz. It starts out the same. I'm writing to provide comments regarding the 3 variance requests. Particular to the Herwig application, it says, since the principal structure is not nonconforming due to shoreline zoning, and only the nonconforming structure portions of the recently updated shoreline zoning provisions of the Waushara County Zoning Code have been implemented prior to the planned February 1st, 2014 implementation date due to Wisconsin Act 170, the department has no comment. The impervious surface standards have not yet been implemented in Waushara County. And that was signed by Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources. And then there's the letter from Dave Williams, received on April 17th, to whom it may concern. My name is Dave Williams, and I am a builder from Wild Rose. I have been involved in the construction business for over 30 years. Although I am not contractually obligated to the Herwigs at this time, I have been assisting them with their planning process. I have met on site with the various subcontractors and utilities. Included in this process has been the task of positioning the proposed new structure on the existing nonconforming lot, nonconforming due to the lot to the narrow width. The placement of the structure and the attached decks necessitate a zoning variance request. Excuse me. I would like to address some relevant points for your consideration. The allowable front building line distance from the ordinary high watermark setback was established by Rick Ertl on February 15, 2012, based on the average building setbacks of adjoining properties. The results of that average permitted the Herwigs to move the new cottage closer to the lake than the present structure, 7 feet closer on the west side and 18 feet closer on the east side. An angled front wall could have been incorporated into the home design to take full advantage of that opportunity, but the Herwigs chose not to exercise that option. The front wall and corners of the new cottage will be the same width as the existing structure and will be placed in the same location as the existing current structure. By virtue of this placement, the Herwigs' front wall building line will remain behind the rear building line of the property to the east as it presently is. This location ensures that the proposed new structure can in no way interfere with the lake views of the adjoining dwellings. The onsite of February 15th established a deck average setback from the ordinary high water mark as 48 feet, again based on the average deck locations of the adjoining properties. The Herwig front deck will be compliable with that 48-foot average. Also, the front portion of the deck will be less than 2 feet above grade so as not to need railings, which would impede the lake view. The east side decks, which are within the 15-foot sideline setback area, will need to have railings due to distance above grade. At its nearest point, the side 8-foot wide deck comes approximately 9 feet from the east lot line and increases in distance from the lot line as it goes back along the home. The neighboring properties and their proximity to the ordinary high water mark were contributing factors in the average calculations. When improvements were considered for neighboring properties in the past, the Herwigs' proximity to the lake contributed to the neighbors' favorable averages as well, resulting in all of them becoming benefactors of the closeness to the ordinary high water mark, which averaging may allow. It has been suggested to simply move the house back the needed distance to meet side lot setback requirements. Though that would appear feasible when viewing the plot plan on a flat piece of paper, reality is the kettle configuration of the Herwig property presents a number of concerns when moving the structure back. Moving back places the Herwig structure further into the depression area. This will subject them to additional water runoff now from the front slope, along with the substantial amount of drainage they currently contend with from the neighboring properties in the road. Moving back would present the need to either place a large amount of fill in front of the house to minimize drainage or build a bridge-type walkway to access the lake. Moving back lessens the area available with which to fit a compatible septic tank, pump chamber, force main, and drain field. This would also lessen the area available to design a proposed replacement area for any further drain field needs. Moving back may require the removal of additional mature trees and create further disturbance of native vegetation. Consideration was given to placing the home and decks further to the west to come into compliance on the east line. However, this is not feasible as that 15-foot west area is needed in order to place the new well. The new sanitary system, the neighbor's sanitary system, and the remaining sloped lot delegates that area as the option to place the well once the cottage is erected. The current Herwig cottage and deck, as well as a detached woodshed, are in a severe state of disrepair. The plumbing and electrical are in need of replacement as well. The foundation is in poor condition and not worthy of repair, given the condition of the upper structure. The existing buildings could be considered an eyesore and certainly compromise the natural shoreline beauty as well as having a negative impact on the property values of nearby parcels. The existing structure is to be raised and properly disposed of off-site. The existing Sandpoint well located in the basement and the undersized, non-compliant septic system are to be properly abandoned and replaced with new. Thank you for your consideration and for recognizing the uniqueness and challenging nature of the Herwig's lot configuration. I trust we have addressed their challenges by attempting to meet the common sense needs of the proposed building project, as well as remaining sensitive to the environment and the adjacent property owners. Any questions or concerns that can be reached, and there's a phone number and an email address, and it's signed Sincerely Dave Williams, dated 4/16/12. And on April 13th, we received a letter from Russell J. Reff, R-E-F-F, regarding the Douglas Herwig variances request. Gentlemen, please be advised, and then there's a whole bunch of names at the top. The law firm Reff, Bavier, Birmingham, Lim, Musa, Sundit, and Dunham. This firm represents Keith and Sherry Kneppel. The Kneppels are the owners of the residence at W4710 Lake Street, town of Saxville, Waushara County, Wisconsin. The Kneppel residence is immediately east of the property for which Douglas Herwig has requested certain variances, hereafter referred to as the Herwig variances. The Kneppels are opposed to the Herwig variances request. It is the Kneppels' understanding that the new residence the Herwigs intend to construct will be substantially larger than the existing cottage. It is also their understanding that the Herwigs have requested variances from the 75-foot shore yard setback, 15-foot side yard setback, and the requirement that existing non-conforming lots be at least 65 feet in width at the building site. The construction of a larger residence within approximately 48 feet from the ordinary high water mark is not in compliance with the shoreline setback. The Kneppel residence is 15 feet from the east line of the parcel that is subject of the Herwig variances request. Reducing the Herwig side yard setback from the common lot line would have a serious adverse effect on the use, enjoyment, and value of the Kneppel property. Reducing the minimum width at the building site would allow the construction of a relatively wide residence on a very narrow portion of the lot. As I am sure you are aware, an area variance of the nature of the proposed Herwig variances can only be granted if compliance with the setback requirements would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or would render conformity with the setback restrictions unnecessarily burdensome. The Herwig lot is a pie-shaped parcel that becomes wider as you move away from the shoreline. The Herwigs could comply with both the side yard setback and shore yard setback requirements by simply moving the proposed residence further from the shoreline or redesigning the residence. Although the Herwigs may not consider either of these options ideal, neither of them would unreasonably prevent them from using their property for residential purposes or render compliance with the setback requirements unreasonably burdensome. There is no legal basis upon which the Herwig variances could be granted. In the event the variances were granted, the Kneppels would have no alternative but to appeal the determination of the board. We trust that this letter makes our client's positions clear. We are asking that this letter be made a part of the record of the variance proceeding and replace the letter dated April 11th of 2012. Please contact the undersigned immediately if you are unable or unwilling to grant this request. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. And again, that's signed Sincerely Russell J. Ruff. And that's it for correspondence.
Okay, we have registered to speak in favor. That was Dave Williams. Do you have anything else to add at this time? Okay, registered to speak in opposition, Keith Kneppel.
Appreciate the opportunity to address you.
Speak into the microphone, please. Thank you.
Hello, and appreciate the opportunity to address you. I don't want to reiterate too much of what was already outlined in the letter that was just read, but our main concern is that this structure would encroach within 7 feet of our lot line. We are the neighbors just to the east of the property, and obviously that would impinge on our privacy. Our bathroom window is right on that corner, so we have concerns in regards to that. Also, it's our contention that the structure could be built closer to the road, further from the lake, and meet all the variance requirements. And that would be what our desire is.
Okay.
Any questions for me at all?
You own two lots there?
Correct.
Your house is on part of both of those lots?
We fear that it would decrease the value of our property if there's encroachment towards the lot line. We certainly don't want to have any friction with the Herwigs. We appreciate their desire to build a nice structure on that lot, and we are encouraged that they want to do that because I think it would improve the area, improve that lot, but we would desire that it be done within the setbacks that are in place.
Any other committee questions? Okay, thank you. Sherry Nipple registered in opposition but not speak. Do you have care to speak or no? Okay, staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with the site plan. They visited the property, it's just like the other one and just like the next one that we're going to hear too. We know about variances, that they asked for a relaxation of a dimensional standard. I'd like to point out again that they need a variance to build on this lot, even if they met all the setbacks, because it is non-conforming due to lot width at the lake and at the building site, and that the proposal does meet the average setback, so there is not a problem with the water setback. It's the side yard setback. When the board visited the property, they noted that the parcel has a deep gully behind the existing home, and that the property presently receives stormwater from all the neighbors. They also noted that the woodshed would be removed. I'd also like to note as part of my comments that, again, the code sections that we talked about changing before have not changed for this application or the next one. So, you know, those sections have remained the same. I think the lot is certainly unique both in shape because it is pie-shaped and very narrow at the lake. When I tried to figure out how wide it was, I think I was down to 25 feet if you measured straight across rather than at the angle that it shows on the plot. And that it's located in a ravine that presents challenges for building and certainly placing a septic system. Our office is always going to be on the side of having a septic system as opposed to a holding tank. Every time that we create a problem where we have to haul the waste away and treat it somewhere else, it can be a bigger problem than what we anticipated if people can't afford to pump it. So anytime that we can get a conventional septic in, that's certainly encouraged. The home is only 24 feet wide, and it meets all the applicable setbacks to the lot lines in the lake. It's the deck and the covered porch that are proposed within 9 feet of the easterly lot line. The only thing about that side is there is also a very steep embankment there. I think that should probably be taken into consideration. This is one, again, where the board needs to use their judgment. This is a challenging one where they have to weigh the challenges presented by the lot with the construction proposal, the effects on the neighbor, the public, and the zoning code. You know, it's one of those weighing things where, you know, is it unique enough to support such a request, or should they have to meet the request or the side lot setback? So, once again, I do not envy your position. That's it.
Okay, does the applicant have anything in rebuttal? Why don't you come forward, I guess. What is really the hardship for the deck on that side?
The hardship for the property is, we feel, the width, the pie shape.
But what's the hardship for the deck?
Well, it's what the owners want to build, and the variance is being requested because of that. I don't know how to answer that.
So really, the home could be built without the deck?
I would say, yeah, it could be built without the deck. But I don't feel that the deck
And
causes...
if you built without the deck, you would be the 15 feet?
I believe so, yes.
Am I understanding this right?
But I believe.
I believe they have a 5-foot walkway allowance on that side.
Correct. but there is no real hardship for a deck. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not positive the covered porch meets the side yard setback either. So that would be,
Will the covered porch meet the side yard?
There's only one short portion of that deck that exceeds the 15 foot that's right out near the closest to the lake.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to ask the gentleman?
Just when the builder said something, but if the deck wasn't there, they'd have to put stairs. But if you look at the drawings that we have, he has stairs coming down from that deck, and he's got stairs coming out of the patio, so he's already has stairs. Okay.
You could,
The explanation we had when we were at the onset, or the onsite, where you could actually view the property and what they were talking about, it made more sense than
I was there.
trying to view a flat drawing and listen to somebody explain what was necessary.
they could raise the garage or the deck, the existing deck up to the floor line, and but then you'd have steps going up to the deck, and then a walkway along the side.
Put a different design of a house there, then it wouldn't come into play.
do you have any more questions for the applicant?
The deck that needs the variance is level with the first floor. There's doors coming out to the east, and you could wheelchair out onto that deck.
Right. Right.
But you would have to have a ramp somehow to get into the first, up to that level. If you ever, God bless you, if you ever need go to a wheelchair later in life, or have family members or whatever.
Right. The
They
deck.
would not, that would not be handicap accessible. But the deck in front to the north was put down at ground level for two reasons. One, not to block the view of the lake, and two, you don't need a railing because it was less than 2 feet from the
Right.
ground level. And that's why there's two levels of decks.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Moving on to the next.
I'd just like to state one thing. When Terry said that the width of the home was only 24 feet, I think the maximum width is 32 feet on a portion of it.
Right, but that part meets setbacks, because that's away from the lake. So the part towards the lake is 24 feet wide. Then it does have the deck on the side.
Okay.
I got another question. Back up to the septic. Where is it's a mound system?
It's
Pumped up to the garage area. And the neighbor's pump is on your land? Oh, that's the well?
Dave, you really do need to come up and speak in the microphone.
The neighbor's well to the west is on Herwig's property by a couple of feet. Their sanitary system is just above where they share the driveway. Herwig's grant an easement to the neighbors to the west their septic system, sanitary goes from their cottage, I believe that's fairly new, to behind their garage. So what we have to be in distance from existing sanitaries, and additionally, the kettle doesn't lend itself to being able to get a well drilling rig down in there. I don't know how you would place it in there, and you're gonna have to go farther than pounding it by hand.
I don't understand. You said that if you filled in that kettle moraine there,
We filled in some of the deepest part of the kettle.
yeah,
Can't place a septic over fill, can you? I don't believe.
No, and you
Correct,
don't want
Terry?
to put a drain field in an area that receives that much water either. So it needs to be out of the depression,
And I believe,
not in
and
fill.
I am not the septic expert, but I believe the perk test was done, soil test was done. They designed the system. Why the force main exists is they get it, start to push it up out of the hill, or it starts going up the rear of the depression, where they felt the infiltrators going east and west. That's the way and again, I certainly won't speak for the septic designer. I am not one of those.
makes sense to me, but okay.
Okay, thank you. Next variance to be considered, Thomas and Judith Rankin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 4, 58-823, paragraph C, paragraph 1, 58-826, paragraph B of the Washare County zoning code to convert a 12 by 14 portion of an attached garage into living space on an existing 23 by 76 foot single-family dwelling with an attached garage previously approved by variance number 5-98 to come to within 37 feet of the center line of State Road 73, 27 feet of the center line of Silver Lake Road, and to within 11 feet of the ordinary high water mark of Silver Lake on an existing non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to square footage in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreline area. Location Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 3845, less volume 673, page 45, and less volume 683, page 802, being part of Government Lot 2 and part of the southwest one quarter of the northeast one quarter, Section 7, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, N 1956, State Road 73. Is the applicant present?
I'm Matthew Summers, their contractor and representative.
Okay. Anything further to add at this time, Matt?
No,
Okay.
pretty self-explanatory by the diagram. And
This is the second plan. You were here a month ago or so with
Correct.
with a two-story.
Right.
Again, a few general questions. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Just the last one, which was in '98,
Okay.
for the first
And
variance.
you're sure of all the lot lines and the ordinary high water mark?
Yes.
Okay. Project you're proposing to convert living space from a garage area space, so there's gonna be no change to the exterior, is that correct?
Correct.
And no filling or grading?
Nope.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
Nope. Just remove a portion of the end wall, which we have to get a state engineer to tell us, how much we can take out for access into that room.
What is the reason for the extra living space?
Well, the house is very narrow to begin with, and it's just, majority of the house is made up of all walls. And they would like to remove some and enlarge the living room area.
Will there be enough space left in the garage to park a vehicle?
No, but they do not park vehicles in there now due to the narrowness of the lot. You can't safely back in and out without encroaching the neighbors.
Okay. How do you plan on dealing with parking for the owner and the visitors?
Well, they can put 3 vehicles on their property. I don't know, there's a public parking across the street, whether they use that or.
But there is enough room at least for two vehicles on the,
Two end by end, and then they got room in front for one.
and that's being off the right-of-way?
That's being off the right of way, and that's basically what they use now.
Have you talked with the town and the state about this project?
No,
Have you talked to the neighbors about the project?
not this one in particular. They all agreed for the second story one that we went for last month, but where it's denied, so.
Okay, and what is the true hardship, or why do you need the extra living space, I guess?
Well, we just, because of the limitations of the lot and the house being made so small to begin with, they would just like, enlarge one of the rooms.
How many square feet in the home now?
1,100, I think.
And with the proposed addition, you'll have
Not additional 175.
and if approval were granted, when would you start this construction?
Well, I'd have to get the state engineer there to get the, plans and then have them drawn up and then submit them to the building inspector. So
Any
I
other
would-
committee questions at this time?
I don't, you know the size of the existing living room? Is this a 2 or 3 bedroom home?
It is a 3-bedroom home. The existing living room is, I think it's like 9 feet or 10 feet by 13, maybe, which is a hallway that comes into it, so.
Twenty-three by 52 is 1,196 square feet. But if there's 3 bedrooms in there, 1 bath,
3 bedrooms and 1 bath, yep.
Variance, so they cut 3-4 feet off
Yeah, the house was specially made for the lot. And because it's a manufactured house, a double wide, there's a 12-inch wall going down the whole middle of so that takes out a lot of square footage.
23 foot is obviously a special made.
Yep. And I think the 23-foot includes the overhangs.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you. You can have a chair. Correspondence?
Again, we have the one email from DNR, and regarding Rankin, it says, since this request is not increasing footprint or impervious surface, the department has no comment. Signed, Michael Wenholtz. So that's it for there.
No one registered to speak in favor or objecting. Staff comments?
When the board visited the property, they noted that parking in the existing garage would be difficult at best, and there is some area to park outside of the garage. They also noted that the shoreline has been upgraded to a vegetative bag wall that seems to be holding up well so far. As far as my comments go, this property is certainly limited. It is really close to the water, it's really close to the state highway, it's really close to the town road that comes off there at the intersection. It's closer to the north lot line than what is required. The only setback that it does meet is on the south, where there is some parking area. So the original variance had a condition placed on it that said that there would be no other construction that could take place without first being reviewed at a public hearing. And then, if approved, conditions were found to be supportive of that variance. And that's why we're here tonight. It's that condition that was placed on that first variance, because when you're squeezing it in with a shoehorn. You want to make sure that something else doesn't happen along the line that might get a little out of control. So that's the reason we're here. There will be little change to the exterior. It was my understanding that that entryway door would be, or that little cubby where the entryway was, would be removed, and the door would be on the outside wall. So that's the only change to the exterior. And we did discuss parking and storage space, if there was some parking there, and then there would be storage in the rest of the garage that wasn't taken up by the living room. And that's it for my comments.
Applicant, have anything in rebuttal? Okay. That closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We will adjourn to, or go into business meeting, and at which time we will vote on the applications.